Larry Bird was slow. The biggest sports lie ever told. Larry Bird was slow. Well, now, first of all, if we're going to talk about speed, we have to define fast versus quick. Now, if you were to take Larry Bird and Usain Bolt and put them both at the end of a basketball court, 94 feet by 50 feet, which is what, 31 and a third yards by 16 and 2/3 yards, but put put them side by side and sprint from one end of the court to the other, yes, Usain Bolt is going to beat Larry Bird. But Larry Bird was quick. Quickness is different. Quickness is more like tennis speed. If you put Larry Bird on a court in the center and he can move 5 yards in any direction, forward, backwards, sideways, or diagonals, he was quick as a cat. He really was quick as a cat. And my dad used to say he was like Houdini out there. Houdini, Google and millennials. But he just, when you go, I'm glad these videos now are really surfacing on YouTube. There's a lot of them on there lately, more than ever. And you can see some of these plays that he makes. And there's one that really just stands out to me where the guy doesn't quite box out well enough and he just jumps right in front of him and steals the rebound by getting his body in front of him. Like, wow, that takes quickness to do it. And his feet were quick, but his hands were even quicker on offense, but especially on defense. And that's where, you talk Kareem Abdul-Jabbar in his video, he talks about Larry. He said, Larry Bird ran us ragged. And that's what he did for the whole 1980s, which in my opinion was the greatest decade in basketball history. Now, yes, I'm old, I'm 57, born in 63, graduated high school in 81, so Larry and Magic were it for me. Dr. J, all those guys. I mean, those games, we didn't miss them. I mean, we didn't have as many choices on cable either. And we didn't have cable at the very beginning, but we just did not miss those games. I mean, they were just events. There was like, it was like a big movie being released, every game. But they were really incredible games. And now I'm not one of those people that thinks that modern basketball isn't good. No, I think Steph Curry's Hall of Famer, first ballot, unanimous. I think he's one of the all-time greats. So what I think is every decade the top five are legends. You take any decade in any sport, top five, and they're legends. It's just because the rules are so different. There's no hand checking now. They don't get called for palming or carrying, so they can really dribble from the side and do that. If you look at 80s basketball, there really wasn't that much in the way of crossovers because you could still get called for palming if you didn't keep your hand kind of on top of the ball. So just different rules. It's just like in football, Joe Namath and Johnny Unitas were probably the two greatest quarterbacks in the 1960s. Now people are saying, well, they shouldn't be in the Hall of Fame. They weren't that good. Their statistics, their quarterback rating. No. The rules were completely different. The footballs were slippery. They didn't have the ultra pebble grip. Totally different game. Take your top five quarterbacks in the 60s, put them in the modern game. Those two had close to perfect form. They would do quite well, I think, in the modern game. So you just can't really compare eras. Just too many different rules, and they didn't protect the quarterbacks and the receivers back then. But anyway, get back to Larry Bird. He just had I always said he had the height of a center, played forward, and had the skills of a point guard. Because he was 6'10". They always say, well, Larry and Magic were both 6'9", but when you saw them side by side, Larry was about an inch taller. So he's 6'10". That's George Mikan, the great all-time center. He had that height, but could do all those things. He could play any position, just like Magic Johnson. That's what, to me, the GOAT. I'm not going to say Larry's the GOAT, but I'm going to say my top five in no particular order: Larry Bird, Magic Johnson, Oscar Robertson, LeBron James, Michael Jordan, in any order. And the problem with the GOAT argument, though, is it kind of leaves out the centers and the smaller guys. Because where do you put Shaq, Wilt, Kareem, and Hakeem? That's not really fair. And Patrick Ewing, that's not fair to them. And what about the small guys? John Stockton, Allen Iverson, Isaiah Thomas, Zeke, and Jason Kidd, probably the most underrated point guard ever. So where do you put them? So the GOAT argument isn't really fair to the big centers or the small guards. It only caters to the guys from about 6'6" to 6'10" that have no weaknesses, which is what a GOAT should be, but it's not really fair to everybody else. But by the way, my name is John Hamilton. I'm a freelance writer here in Yorktown, Virginia. Beautiful out. We had a nice big thunderstorm just came through, cool things off. But and I write my miscellaneous articles, sports pieces, and humorous history quizzes. Think Taylor Swift meets Alexander Hamilton. That's funny, right? Maybe not, but they appear in a local weekly newspaper. But the one thing that really, really irks me about Larry Bird, not only do I think that his not being fast is the greatest sports lie of all time, I think he's the most underrated defender of all time. I think he's the greatest team defender in NBA history. The greatest. Now, he's not the greatest individual defender in team history, but I think he's the greatest team defender in individual history. But what really, really irks me, he never, ever won a first team all-defense award. And I think that's crazy. I think now, Bobby Jones got 8 of them. Now, I love you Philadelphia fans, love the city of brotherly love, but I think Larry Bird should have got them because now Bobby Jones played power forward, you're thinking, but Larry Bird, a lot of people don't know this, he played small forward and power forward, so he's still listed as both. And he should have gotten those awards because Bobby Jones was a great individual defender, but Larry Bird took over the decade on defense. He really, go back and watch those videos. I always say he was a better defender than an offensive player. And when you watch those games, he just took over championship games. And it's just amazing to watch. But Bobby Jones was great too. But Bird should have gotten the first team awards, no question, no question. But anyway, that's it. This has bothered me for 35 years, and I figured I just have a small channel. I don't get a lot of viewers, but I figure I'm going to make a video about this because nobody else talks about this. You don't see it on ESPN. You don't see it on Fox Sports. Nobody really talks about this fact. And I want people to get this conversation going about when you watch those videos, you go, wait a minute, he's not really slow. He just isn't. So, but that's it. You may think he is slow. Leave your comments. And we'll see you for my next trivia video. Okay, goodbye.